There's so much junk on the internet when it comes down to using AI in your business. When I see it, I really view it as like, there's people who are just putting videos out about Claude, videos out about OpenClaw, videos out about ChatGPT, Gemini, so many things that if I'm being honest, I guess I truthfully have not looked up to see everything people are watching, but I have found out just in my research of more specifically using AI to better processes inside of my business. I've just seen the onslaught of information that exists there, right? The onslaught of YouTube videos, the onslaught of informational education around using these tools. And one of the things that I just feel like I want to start striving to do personally is really start getting this type of AI information education specifically out there for online coaches. I think that is a major gap right now with what I'm seeing. And a large part of it's because of how I'm seeing content being made, right? And it's not even, maybe this just isn't landing. Maybe the algorithm isn't pushing in front of me, which is surprising because I am a coach. So I just makes me believe it doesn't really exist. And I view it as if you're a coach in the online space and you're wanting to use AI and you're starting to look at some of these AI videos, you are going to be getting sucked into a lot of stuff that truthfully you do not need in your business. I just made a video the other day where I was sharing kind of how a lot of people are using AI and how I think a lot of people are using AI just the wrong way. And the way that I want you to start viewing it for yourself is how you can use it to enhance the processes that you already have inside your business, right? One of the best things that I've really been liking as of late with really AI and more specifically Claude, honestly, has been this idea around doing exactly what I just described, really using the AI to understand your processes, but improve the speed, make it more efficient, delegate more. I've made a constant effort over the past, going on 4 years of my business to reduce my team, right? To reduce the amount of work I'm delegating. And at the same time, and by that I don't mean like, well, now I just want to take everything on with man hours myself. It's like, no, I want to have it where I am getting the right tasks into other people's hands. And I am eliminating things that are happening in my business that are no longer necessary. That's the big difference here, right? And that's where I'm seeing the shift with what AI can do for you in your business when you take the right approach. And so with Claude there, something that's been very powerful for me is using Claude Cowork for that reason. Now, I've always been big on using really chat sessions, right? So that's why for me, using ChatGPT and custom GPTs, it was such a big thing that I say, quote unquote, in the beginning, right? In the beginning of this AI wave. And so I say it this way because that was fine. Really for me, all I was using it for was AI content. And really when I say AI content, in a way to put content out there faster. How can I go faster from idea to creation, right? Because the way that it was always done before is idea, now I just start typing it out. Like my process then, I was still able to get out content pretty quickly, relatively quick compared to how the flow was. It's like, hey, I have an idea, let's just start brain dumping, getting it out. Now I would basically pull it back and say, okay, now basically let's do a second draft at this. And the second draft would then quickly turn into a final. And let's be completely real. That approach of writing, I truthfully believe that you're gonna get better quality writing than really anything else that we're talking about right now. Now, but with that being said, it takes time, and then maybe you're not putting out as much content as you could. So I think that where people go wrong with using AI in their coaching business and content is that, for one, they don't go through that process that I just described long enough to the point where they're actually good at writing copy. And so now this is why there's so much AI crap out there when it comes to content, because you're just using literally whatever AI is spitting out, and you don't know how to put your own spin on it, right? I'm not reading a script right now. I'm driving on the road right now. So they don't have enough of this skill set to just be able to share what's in their brain and just verbalize it, or whether you're writing it down, contextualize it in a way that is authentic in their voice and they're getting better at kind of the psychology behind it all, if you will. And so that's the second layer, if you will. So like I said, there's the first layer of first draft yourself, then a quick second draft, and like you're publishing it, right? And then from there, the next layer is people going in with AI, and now you're kind of having it either, especially here's how I was using it with a custom GPT for a long time. It's like, hey, write me a value post. Hey, write me this. And so that can work. It was working because I had built out a custom brand voice GPT, right? And so you have that layer. Then you take it one layer on top of that, if you will. The layer next behind that here, let me fix this here. The next layer behind that is basically now really where, and there's probably several layers I'm skipping between this, but I'm gonna call it the next layer in between, I would say, is the layer of where I'm more so at now within how I'm, and you can use this, I was getting into like Claude Cowork and things like that as well, but even with what I'm about to say, technically, you could do this with Claude Cowork, if you will. You could do it just with Claude Chat. You could do this how I was doing this with a custom GPT and Chat GPT. I think with a regular chat and Chat GPT, I wouldn't trust that as much. I don't think it's as good at copywriting, but that's just me getting the weeds to share my knowledge with these language models. So the third one I was getting to is really just this idea of you got to be able to really get that first draft out there in the same way. Now the big difference is before, and honestly, we always had dictation technically. So like, reality is if you wanted to speed up the initial process, you could have always just dictated it, right? And then cleaned it up. And so I just never did that approach because also, I never did that approach because I feel like also when you dictate, it doesn't come out as clean. When I say as clean, it's like a lot of these things are just behind the times. Now I use an app called Whisperflow to dictate, and it's like, that thing is incredible. It's an AI dictator, but is what they, I think, call it. We'll see, I'm planning on sharing that app, but these things now exist that didn't before. So, but now what I do is I will basically dictate it using either Whisperflow, using the natural, microphone to talk to text functionality that either ChatGPT has, Claude has, right? I will talk into it and speak out my first draft. And it's not even, that's the good part is, when you have these things dialed in, especially with a custom brand voice GPT, or for me, that's one of the reasons you can't just do a Claude Chat. It still also will probably get you done. I'm suggesting this because fast is better than, done is better than not. But the better way technically with Claude is using Claude Cowork, I basically just built in my custom brand voice GPT I had in ChatGPT, and I moved it over into Claude, which there's a lot of benefits. And one of the big ones that I've seen is that Claude is better at writing copy than ChatGPT. ChatGPT, in my opinion, as a coach, I like it for gathering thoughts. But here's the thing, if you're gathering loose thoughts is what I would say. If you are gathering thoughts around a specific project you're working on, that's another place that Cowork really shines. But let's bring it right back to the content side. So for content, now I'm using Cowork and my brand voice I built in there inside of a project. So now the flow is, I basically talk into my phone just the same exact way I'm doing it right now, right? And I'm really now moving ahead and getting into, all right, let's go ahead now and share my specific thoughts around how I can just get this post out there, right? So let's take it back, right? That third layer is really, now instead of doing that first draft where I'm writing it out or I'm just dictating it, now what's happening is I am actually speaking an idea out to Claude, right? Speaking this idea out to potentially your AI of choice. And I'm just going through it. I'm riffing as if I'm talking to my wife and say, hey, I think I have a good idea for a piece of content. I think I can go with this angle. I can take this approach. I can finagle it this way. And because then I really want to get this support. And I just talk to it. And I just talk into my phone, just talking to the mic, talking to my computer microphone, whatever it is. I'm just talking out loud with the idea. That is this evolution of a piece of content that I believe that's the stage I'm at right now. And I think that is where you want to get to. Before it wasn't, you couldn't do that because you couldn't then repackage it. When we think about pre-AI, right? That takes a lot of work to now, you're creating more work for yourself in a sense. It's more like I could have a note, and this would happen a lot. I would just write a note maybe where I was dictating that, just getting the ideas out. And then I'm not going to sit down and write a post. I'm not doing it from I'm not starting from ground zero. I'm not starting from a blank sheet of paper, if you will, a blank Google document. So, but now these talking points can actually get turned and refined into a piece of content that is now far more personalized. far more dialed in while still retaining your brand voice. And that is a process now that I think will just serve you so well when it comes down to you wanting to build a personal brand with your coaching business to actually separate yourself from the competition. The problem when you're just using, even with a brand voice GPT, but without one is terrible, but even with it, you're just saying, hey, write me a value post. Hey, write me a belief shifting post. Hey, write me a testimonial post or email. The pro is, it knows because even if a custom GPT or something you fed into, it knows I've given it my testimonials and case studies already, but the stories it's giving, it's still what I would call just fluff, because it doesn't feel like I wrote it right now. I could have wrote this whenever. And one of my real key guiding principles when it comes down to content is I want to write a post that nobody else can write. And when I say that, yes, the stories about it and like these testimonials and case studies, yes, that does bring it that way. But also I want it to really I want the email, the post to feel like I'm truly writing this in the moment, right? Whether it's me referencing the day, whether it's me talking about what I did this morning in it, like the certain transitions. I talk about PPP, right? Plot, pivot, pitch, right? It's like you want to be able to take an idea and now you're pivoting into the real value or the real, potentially you're pivoting then eventually into the call to action that you're going to get into here. This is how I want to see my personal brand coming out in my content. So when it comes to, I bring this all full circle to say that when we're talking about using AI in our businesses, we want to use them because let's think about it at the core to get to what I just mentioned. In order to do that manually, it will just take more time. So for me, now the time process, that is now flipped on its head, and it comes back towards how fast can I get my talking points out into Claude, simply put. And for me, sometimes, and that's the cool part, is like I can also do it. A lot of times I'll do it not even in the office. I'm just talking into my phone, jotting down the notes. I could do it technically on my Apple Notes. I could do it inside of Claude, because Claude Cowork you can't use on your desktop, at least at the time of recording this. You can't use it on your mobile, at least at the time of recording this. So, but at the very least, I can just jot the notes down. Now I can copy paste them right into Claude Cowork that has my brand voice. Or even, I could still do this because I have my custom GPT on for ChatGPT there, inside ChatGPT on my phone. So I can just do it that way. Just talk the talking points in it, and boom, good to go. And that's what I was doing before I moved over into Claude, because I had the custom GPT built out with my brand voice. I would just do exactly what I'm saying, speak into a talking points on my phone, then boom, spit it in, and now the GPT knows to spit this out in a content form. So now I can go ahead, and literally what I was doing is I was saying, I would take my voice note, copy it, and then I dropped it into Claude, and then I'd say, hey, here's what the GPT spit out for me. How would you go ahead and adjust this yourself? What notes, adjustments would you take? And that's what I did before, because if you're using with Claude Chat, it doesn't know my personality, my brand voice. Yes, these AIs learn you, but not to that degree. They don't have the information preloaded for your brand, if you will. So now I took this approach, and I took that approach, and it was working well. But now it's like, how can I efficiency? Some of these models work better at specific things. Like I said, Claude is really good at creative work. And now, if you ask me, Claude is just really good in a lot of areas now compared to ChatGPT. I still like ChatGPT for certain things. I still use it a lot. But the application has absolutely changed, for sure. And so now that's how, once again, I'm telling you, even if that's all you take is what I just broke down there, that's huge for you. And honestly, if you want me to deeper dive into like how I'm setting up brand voice stuff inside of Claude, inside ChatGPT, definitely let me know. The other piece now that I will say, and maybe we'll put a bow on this video to end it here, after this point, is Claude Cowork, like I mentioned. That has now been something where, like I mentioned, I like using ChatGPT for the longest as like my assistant that I can just bounce ideas off of. My assistant that's also a specialist in everything in a sense, and I can just bounce ideas, it'll give me some loose thoughts, and we'll take it from there, right? But with Claude Cowork, the beautiful part of it is you can create projects, and these projects, even though Claude in my eyes has its strength. Here's one of the strengths I like about ChatGPT. It really lays things out for you in like a very like almost elementary way. Right? I like the way that it makes these lists, and you can easily design Claude, I'm sure, to do it the same way, but just out the box, if something works well out the box, like clearly that's one of its specialties. So ChatGPT does a really good job with that, like listing, headlining, bullets, formatting in a way that just makes it very easy for me to digest information. So that's why I always like talking through ideas with ChatGPT. But when you have this big project you're working on, right? Like for me, for example, I have an AI dashboard that I give to my clients, right? So when I'm working on making new features for it, all these things, what I've had this project I've been working with inside of Claude Cowork for quite some time, and there's been a ton of data that gets built up. And the difference between data between having it where like a thread chat has data, like that if you work within a thread, it's gonna learn more, it has the context, but you can give it so much more in Cowork. And here's one of the best parts about it is that you can really have it understand your goal at the end of it all. The bigger goal tied into the business. And that's just one of these pieces too, where you can share this with ChatGPT in a thread and Claude in a thread. But eventually you're gonna hit a ceiling as far as how much the conversation's gonna remember. And especially too, I'm not sure how deep you've gone in the AI chat thread with your own chat thread there, or given information to it and gone back and forth with it. It will start to forget things. And that's with Cowork, it truly has far more capacity because of the context it has, because of how you can truly upload files like to your computer and have it like actually reference your computer, not just the cloud, which is why Cowork isn't available on mobile. And there is a beta feature now where you can basically like kind of have your phone talk to Cowork, and it has to talk to it like through your computer. So like your computer would obviously have to be on the same way kind of scheduled tasks work with Cowork. So I bring all this up to say is that now even the way that I'm going and thinking through ideas, if it's a one-off idea, honestly, I'll probably talk to ChatGPT about it. But if it's a bigger idea for my business, something that is clearly and there's so many different projects that we're working on. Like, I have projects in there based around my entire ecosystem, right? Like I said, based off my AI dashboard, based off my cold lead gen that involves my ads and my cold traffic funnels, right? And like I mentioned, my brand voice, my content brand voice project. You have all these things that you don't even realize that you're doing. And so if I was to tie all this back to where we began today, you need to, before you just go start aimlessly bringing in random stuff, random AI junk into your business, you start looking at where in your business you can start to implement this stuff. And that's why when I was going out and looking for all these ideas, looking for ways to use Claude, I'm hearing about how people are using Claude and Gemini, all these things very well, and the next level, it's like, but for me as a business coach, for me as an online coach, forget business, just for me as an online coach, how does it apply to myself? And so that is where really I wanted to just serve you today and share with you how I'm used as a coach, because really I want you to do the same thing. And hopefully this video has felt like a bit of a shortcut for you to see ways that I'm using it in my coaching business. I know for you, you're making content. You potentially have a project you're working on that's a part of your offer, right? My AI dashboard is a part of my brand of clients. Like that's all my clients get that. So if you think about this is within the bigger project of my offer. So like this is a lot of things that we're doing are tied towards a bigger goal. And if you can get clear on what that goal is and that big project is that you're actually working on, some of these AIs that you're working with can truly help you. Claude Cowork, specifically in this example, can do a really good job at supporting you in getting to the end goal, right? The end goal of a dashboard is not just to have something cool, is to help clients to perform better with their ads, to make more money, and for me to get better testimonials out of them for it. You have to understand the bigger picture so that then you can methodically go ahead and choose what it is you want to add throughout your process. All right, so that's my long-winded video for you today. Like I said, I'm more than happy to start going deeper on this stuff for you, share my workflows, get more technical. I'm happy to do some screen sharing videos, whatever makes sense here on this side as well too, but I just want to help you because I've seen it, like I said, when you go search just Claude, you see a ton of stuff and a lot of it looks really cool. A lot of it looks really interesting. But a lot of it is, as I described in the last video I made, a lot of it's shiny and you don't want to get caught up in that stuff. All right, so today, I just hope that this really serves you as a way that you can start to get around it for yourself and start to navigate what it is you're actually doing in your business, label those processes, and start using AI to become efficient with them. That's all I got for now. I'll see you next time.